This is a toy from almost 3,000 years ago. This wheeled horse is a toy from ancient Greece. It's amazing, right? We still give wheeled horses to kids nowadays. Kids in ancient Greece, they even had other toys. Not just wheeled horses, but also dolls, hoops, spinning tops, and even yo-yos. Can you believe that? They had yo-yos. A little kid in ancient Athens had a yo-yo. Today, we are going to talk about toys in ancient Greece. My name is Jonas and you're watching Game for Fun. So, kids are kids everywhere, anywhere, and at any time, right? But being a kid in ancient Athens was a bit different from being a kid nowadays. A kid's life was separated into some stages. In Athens, when the kid turned 3 years old, they would take part in a festival named Kois. This was a part of a 3-day festival to the god Dionysius, the god of wine. Now, this is important because from this point on, the kid is part of the family, the oikos. The kid is part of the rituals. We have to bear in mind that the ancient Greeks, they didn't have the healthcare system. They didn't have vaccines, they didn't have medicines. So many times kids would die before that age. Regarding babies, the ancient Greeks, they had ratos. When a kid turned 7 years old, depending on how poor or rich they were, they would start working. And here is where it starts a division between girls and boys. Girls would take part in taking care of the house, and the boys, if the family had money, would start having an education. When girls started menstruating, that's when they were considered as ready to marry. They were considered as maidens. And usually they would marry a guy who was like double their age. Now, there's something interesting at this point, because before they marry, the girls would offer their dolls to the goddess Artemis, the god of hunting and chastity as well. So there was a connection between toys and playthings and the sacred. It's really hard to know if an object was used as a toy to play with, or if it was some sacred object. Or maybe it was used just for display. Look at this wheeled horse. The wheels were added now, but everything else is from 900 centuries before Christ. This toy is in really good condition. Was it used as a toy? I mean, did the kid really use it, playing with it in the mud? Or maybe the parents thought that the toy was so pretty, so beautiful, that they didn't let the kid play with the toy. It's possible that some toys were used just for display. I mean, like nowadays. Look at this action figure. It's an Iron Man action figure. It's 100 pounds. And I mean, imagine thousands of years from now, there is some archaeologists of some alien culture and they find this object, this Iron Man. What they will think of it? Will they think that a kid played with it? Or that it was owned by a grown-up man and that it was just a display on his shelf? Well, what we do know is that the Greeks had many dolls. And I mean many. Archaeologists have found many centers of toys production. So most likely there were many different dolls of many different types and different prices. I can imagine a little kid, a little girl asking for their parents for some specific toy, for some specific doll. The professional crafters of these miniature figures were also known as choroplatoi, which means maiden modelers. All dolls were women. Maybe they had dolls representing children and grown-up men, but so far we have only found dolls representing grown-up women. And as I have said before, they would offer some of their dolls to the goddess Artemis before they marry. Also, sometimes they were buried with the dolls. We don't know if boys also played with dolls. I mean, it's possible. Maybe before the age of 7, probably they share the same toys, right? In the depictions, in the vases, it doesn't show boys playing with the dolls. It shows the boys playing with the hoops and also with wheeled sticks. But these representations, they are not like photographs of the daily life. It was an artist thinking about what they want to put to represent in the vase. So we have to take always with a grain of salt. We have to take everything with a grain of salt. Even what I'm saying here, what I'm saying, take it with a grain of salt. But the idea is that these vases, they are depicting a more idealized version of ancient Greek society. But anyway, it's our only window to the past. Now, just a parenthesis here, this is something important. Dionysius was the god of wine. He was the god of more animalistic instincts. Remember I mentioned a festival named Kois, which was part of a 3-day festival for Dionysius, and that it was the first festival that kids could participate when they were 3 years old. Well, not only kids could participate in the toys, but also slaves. In ancient Greek art, in all these vases, children, they were usually depicted together with women and slaves. And these three groups, kids, women, and slaves, they were seen by their time as inferior, as an incomplete form of humans, as not fully rational. So they were more related to these animalistic instincts, to lower pleasures. So that's why women were connected to the goddess like Artemis, but also to gods like Dionysius, and not to a god like Apollos, which represents this rationality and higher forms of pleasure. Aristotle said that a boy is a woman in form, and the woman is, as it were, an impotent male. Aristotle was very sexist, so playing with toys was probably considered as a lower form of pleasure and not appropriate for grown-up men. The Greek word pais, which was used to denote child, was also used to denote slave. And this word pais has the same root as the word painon, which means playing, and also the words paizo, which means I play, and the words heipaedia, which means a child's playtime. But there was one game that was very famous between boys and girls. Knucklebones. This game was really famous at the time. And you know, not only girls would offer toys to gods, also boys would do the same. Before they became a man, they would offer to Hermes, which is the divine protector of the youth. It's interesting that in ancient Athens, boys would have to serve the army when they turned 18 for 2 years, and after that they were considered men. They were considered as fully part of the democracy, of the assembly, of the decision-making process. It's a bit similar to nowadays, but of course, remembering that democracy in ancient Greece, in ancient Athens, was only for free Greek men. So no slaves, no women, and you know. Alright, but besides toys, kids would also play games. But the thing is that games, they're not artifacts. No, they are artifacts like balls. We play like football with a ball. But the problem is that to understand football, we need to know the rules of the game, the conventions of the game. And this is harder to survive. So we don't really know exactly which games they played and how exactly were the rules. But we can imagine, look at this image. I mean, really, it looks a lot like hockey, doesn't it? So much. Look at this other image. For me, it looks like cricket. But there were two games that we know they would play. One of them was called ephedrismus. One player would get blindfolded and he would carry the other playmate on their back, big back. And the one who is blindfolded carrying the other would have to find a target which was placed somewhere in the ground around them. If he found it, then they would reverse places, and then the other one would get blindfolded and have to carry the other person. There are many statues of this, many statues of girls playing this. There was also another very famous game in ancient Greece, and it was called Episkros. Episkiros. Well, I don't know how to pronounce it. Now, this one was usually played also by grown-up men, but also women could participate in it. So basically, you had two teams of from 12 to 14 members each, and you had to get the ball besides a line that it's behind the other team. It's very similar to football or handball. And the game was, in general, a very peaceful game, except in Sparta, where it was a bit violent. But I mean, come on, if it's not a bit violent, it's not Sparta, right? But the game wasn't really very famous. It never made its way into the Olympics. And also, this game, maybe it's a bit more of a sport. It's hard to determine the division between games and sports, right? And I said that toys, they were not appropriate for grown-up men. They were just for kids, right? But not sports. Sports were really important for the Greek society. Kids' toys and kids' games were associated with that word, the paideia. Now, sports in ancient Greece was associated with the word agon, which means conflict, dispute, strive. And this is related to virtues in ancient Greece. But anyway, that's a matter for another video about sports, agon, and how it unified the Greek society. If you like this video, please leave a like, a comment, and subscribe. Let's talk a little bit about ancient toys. And thank you. See you next time.